All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? And hopefully the sound is okay. Just let me know if there's any issues. And good to see you. Did I yawn? I don't know. I'm tired. Well, welcome back. It's been kind of a kooky, wacky, nutty kind of weekend. We're in the middle of this big storm. A toke. Yes, toke. That's what it's called. A toke. Some people call them different things. It's cold. It's chilly and it's very wet. It's not too, it's not really horrible. Obviously, if you're indoors, not okay if you're outdoors, and there's a lot of people outdoors, unfortunately, especially in Los Angeles. As you all know, you well know, the homeless situation is out of control. I was out on Saturday, grabbing a couple of things before the storm hit. Man, there were just saw people, sleeping on the sidewalk, and man, it's got to be miserable. So I am personally not experiencing really any hardships at the moment. Knock on particle board. Anyways, but welcome. Good to see everybody here. And we're live on YouTube, Brockfin, Callin, and on Twitter. Don't know if anybody caught. I started another channel, which is just like a story. I don't know. I don't know really what it's going to be yet. I'm kind of figuring it out as it goes. I didn't. 2K. Oh, it's pronounced 2K in Canada. 2K. Toke, 2K. Some people call them ski hats, skull caps, all kinds of different names. Somebody else called it a brogan, I think. I don't know. Anyways. Oh yeah, Poppy. Yeah, thank you. And Poppy left a comment. Anyways, I started a new channel. It's going to be a mix of things, I think. Stories, readings, interesting readings, some historical. I think I might go through some historical readings, looking at certain things that happened in history that I find interesting and others might find it interesting as well. Just kind of a listen along. Am I on a laptop mic? Oh, geez. I might be. I wasn't trying to be. I did have my audio. No, it's on. It's on. My audio is coming through the mic, but does it sound like a laptop mic? It shouldn't. Beanie? Yes, Poppy Davis, Beanie. Yeah. Anyway, so my other channel is called In the Material, and I think you can actually just look it up with that title, In the Material. Um, there's also a link on Twitter and also in the Telegram. The Telegram is t.me slash Black Bear News Chat. If you guys want to go there, I should probably put it in the description box. I haven't yet, and I will. Anyways, In the Material is the channel, and there's a story up there, reading from Kim Stanley Robinson from the Ministry for the Future. There, if you want to check it out, just something to listen to. It's kind of short. But yeah, do this other channel will be just a little more like less news and more just kind of interesting things to listen to. Hopefully, that's the basic description. Interesting things to listen to. Hopefully, so. I have many interests, so my interests could go far and wide. Who knows? In the Material brings up a song. Oh. In the Material, all one word maybe might get you there. Yeah, they told me. I mean, that's my handle is at In the Material. I think what you want to do is YouTube/channel/In the Material. I don't know. Anyways. Anyways, there is a link on Twitter. There's a link in Telegram. And you can find the channel there. And subscribe, listen, subscribe, do all the things, like and stuff. I'll be posting some more stuff there, hopefully this week. We'll see. We'll see how time goes. All right. But welcome. That was a lot happening. There's also New Orleans got a good bit of flooding as well. Where are we? Well, we'll look at, there's a bit of a news. Look at a bit of a news blip. This is from like this morning. And I haven't really heard of any other major incidents regarding what's going on. I mean, there is things happening in Northern California too. We'll get into this. Extremely dangerous situation in Hollywood Hills. Hit by major mudslides, flooding, record rain. Damage reports piled up early Monday as the storm system steadily pummeled Southern California. Downtown LA broke a 97-year-old rainfall. I mean, the rainfall record actually went down by a lot. 4.1 inches of rain. The last record for the day was 2.55, so kind of smashed that one. The wettest day ever for LA is March 2nd, 1938, 5.88 inches of rain. But it's supposed to go on until tomorrow. Anyways, people are just kind of, it just is raining and raining. The rain continues, and it's going to go all day. I don't know what's going on with my background. That's kind of weird. I don't know what's happening with my background. Okay. I showed the story. There's this background up. That's kind of silly looking. Does that work at In the Material after the YouTube? Excuse me. Does that work at In the Material? Does that bring it up? No. Okay. No. That's weird. That's it. in the search, put at. Is that where? There you go. In the search bar, put at in the material, one word, and I guess that'll bring you there. You found it by searching in the material and channels. Oh, I see. Okay. If you put at in the material in the search bar on YouTube, you can find it. Okay. Oh, after a slash. Got it. And that'll do you too. So slash at in the material. Okay, that's very important. All right. Thanks for the help, Mang. So there are difficulties happening, of course, as a result of the weather. Give me 1 second here. I mean, it's right now. I'm seeing, some flooding here and there. Places are getting a lot of snow, right? Mountains are getting a lot of snow. But I'm not seeing, really gigantic, widespread issues. It's just a shit ton of rain. So it's my scientific analysis is that there's a lot of rain. I mean, there's, train station is flooding. That's, that's some decent flooding there for LA. I mean, we have got a lot of rain. There's some places that are closed. Some places got evacuated. But mostly just warnings of potential flooding. So, yeah, it's not. It isn't the damage that was expected so far. I mean, it's going to rain for like 24 more hours. It's raining in Big Bear. Wow. And it is kind of warm. It's still warm, right? It's not too cold. And they were saying that we were going to get a bunch of snow, but maybe not. Actually, if it's raining in Big Bear, that's not good because they're going to lose snow. That's they're right. Big Bear is the ski place in Southern California. Anyways, so that's kind of happening. Let's see. There's some flooding in New Orleans as well. It's like some pretty serious flooding in New Orleans. And what I actually saw some posts about the fact that the flooding, it's Mardi Gras right now. And the flooding is partially caused in New Orleans by all the trash and garbage and the beads that get washed down into the drainage system. And so the streets are not draining as they should. And that's part of the problem. But that looks like a significant amount of rain and water. So probably more due to the amount of rain that they're getting. But you have family in Brazil. Chris says the heat is relentless. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that, a lot of that going on. The heat is relentless, as it should be, because the temperature of the planet is going up. Let's see. Osama, thanks for the YouTube video. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of water coming down. It's very the LA River is very full. Yeah, thanks for that. This is a shit ton of water. Again, to use the scientific terms, a whole lot of water. And we're going to get more. So, I guess the issue is right now everything is not too bad, but if we get a lot more rain over the next like 24 hours, it could obviously start these channels can start to overflow and then really cause some damage. This is thanks Osama for that. The LA River currently, which is very, very full. This is extremely full for the LA River. Extremely full. I mean, we got it dumped and dumped and dumped and dumped and never stopped dumping, and it's still, there was never a break. It's just been coming down. Pretty hardcore here. But nothing, again, a few pockets of damage here and there, but like nothing really super duper major yet. I guess there's also a pumping thing that's going on in New Orleans that's causing some of the floods. So they're having issues with one of the pumps breaking down, the drainage not working, people, throwing beads and garbage and crap on the ground during Mardi Gras, and then a rainstorm, and all of these factors combined. It's usually not just one thing. It's usually like some things combined to make the issues. Who's watching on Twitter? Anybody watching on Twitter? Give me a like and give me a shout out, say hello or something. Let's see, where are we at? In other news, did anybody see this kind of, Elon Musk put out a video about climate change, which is interesting on several levels. Number one, the answer, his blanket answer for what's going to solve climate change is kind of silly. It's an immediate, shoot down of that, I think, from most people. And he's also ignoring, but I do appreciate
the climate crisis.
So a lot of people these days would put Elon Musk in the, they say he's like a right winger now, or because he's into bears need coffee. Yes, they do. Bears do need coffee. I need more coffee. He's promoting genocide. Yeah. Well, I mean, Elon Musk is he's a complicated guy. You know what I mean? It's hard to pin him down. He likes free speech. He's working for the military industrial complex. He loves, putting neural. I mean, did y'all see that they had the first, I guess, successful implant of Neuralink into a human the other day? Exactly, G. Demarest. I appreciate that sentiment. One way to help uh, the climate is to stop billionaires. Indeed. Um, so successful, yeah. Yeah, so he's into he's into Neuralink. He's doing all these things. He's into promoting obviously electric cars, and it's hard to pin down exactly what this guy stands for. I mean, he says we're going to coup who we want to coup, but free speech and freedom of thought and freedom of ideas, except for when it's fascism serves my needs, and then that'll be fine. Yeah. And yes, Scott Andrews, exactly. Billionaires are too successful at dividing and controlling us. And that's, you know, I think at this point, pretty clear that's the game. Even though everybody's like, thank you for the free speech on Twitter. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love it. This is most likely, uh, according to people in the know, Whitney Webb and other people who are really kind of looking at this from a macro lens, like this is a honeypot. There's definitely nefarious intentions involved in getting everybody to verify themselves on Twitter and get all the free speech out on Twitter, and then later be held accountable for that free speech, right? Or yeah. Anyways, so he puts out this video about climate change, and I'm like, all right, he's actually acknowledging that climate change is a real thing. That's cool. But then, like, he's like, well, but physics says all we need to do, kind of like physics says all we need to do is get a carbon tax going, and that's gonna fix it. Okay, this is kind of standard operating procedure for the elites, right, around climate change. Again, if you want to have people hate the subject of climate change even more, have stuff like this go out. Nobody is going to take this. Nobody is going to take this seriously, right? People who don't believe in climate change aren't going to take this seriously. People who do believe in climate change aren't going to take this seriously. If you think this is a good video, like, oh, he's explaining how climate change is a real thing, but we, don't want to. Yeah, he does actually say one part in this I actually had to applaud him for was he said there's no way to avoid 2C at this point, and I was like, well, hey, that is honest. That's some honesty I can get behind. He's just said, well, but we just can't keep letting it go any farther than that. Again, it's the misinformation about how bad it is. Admitting the thing about 2C I thought was actually fairly, fairly edgy for him. But it's the misinformation around, what's really going on with climate change, and then what it is that we need to do about it. Again, the elites just want to give you these answers that are not really even not close to the mark. And then again, we're talking about, he's talking about CO2. He's talking about carbon. Carbon is not the problem. It's pollution. Carbon is an element of pollution that we're destroying the planet with, but it's not the only one, right? Oh gosh, if we only just control carbon, which we're not going to do because, or control the burning of fossil fuels, which we're not going to do because 8 million people depend on the amount, millions of barrels of oil being burned a day in order to continue this existence on the planet, right? That's the basic physics equation that Elon Musk is not actually giving you. It takes burning this much oil a day in order to keep 8 billion people alive. That's what it takes. And we're not gonna, we're not going down that ladder anytime soon. And we're not going to tell people the truth about that anytime soon. And we're not going to admit to that anytime soon. And we're not going to tell people what the consequences of reaching the end of that arrangement are going to be. We're not going to tell people the consequences anytime soon. It's just, there's a lot of lying involved in this presentation of like, whoa, all we need to do is a carbon tax. All we need to do is a carbon tax. I don't know. We'll watch a little bit of this.
What actions can we take that will accelerate the transition out of the fossil fuel era? So there's a certain amount of carbon that is circulating through the environment. So it's going into the air, getting absorbed by plants and animals, and then going back into the air. And this carbon is just circulating on the surface. And this is fine, and it's been doing that for millions, hundreds of millions of years. The thing that's changed is that we've added something to the mix. So this is what I would call the turd in the punch bowl. We added all this extra carbon to the carbon cycle, and the net result is that the carbon in the ocean's atmosphere is growing over time. It's much more than can be absorbed by the ecosystem. It's really
okay. This is a fair assessment, so I appreciate him putting this out there. Is this going to help? Is this going to help people take in this information any better? Maybe. Doubtful, though.
Quite simple. We're taking billions of tons of carbon that's been buried for hundreds of millions of years and is not part of the carbon cycle, taking it from deep underground and adding it to the carbon cycle. The result is that a steady increase in the carbon in the atmosphere and in the ocean, which doesn't look like much if you look at it on this chart, but when looked at in the context of history, it actually looks like this. So the carbon parts per million has really been bouncing around the 300 level for around 10 million years. And then in the last few hundred years, it went into a vertical climb. This is the essence of the problem. This is very unusual and a very extreme threat, as you can see from this rate of growth. Then this is accompanied by...
Again, it's frustrating because, the people that are tasked with giving us answers are the wrong people, right? They're just, Elon Musk is not the dude to be teaching us about climate change or what the answer to climate change is. He's just the wrong person to do it, He's not as bad as John Podesta, but, he's in the realm of like, who's the face, who's the person we want to put out there to tell people what's going on with climate change? I don't know. I don't know that anybody is good. At this point, I don't know that anybody is good.
A temperature increase, as one would expect. And this temperature increase, people talk about 2 degrees or 3 degrees. It's important to appreciate just how sensitive the climate actually is to temperature. And it's important to look at it in terms of absolute temperature, not in degrees Celsius relative to 0. We need to say, what is the temperature change relative to absolute 0? That's how the universe thinks about temperature. It's how physics thinks about temperature.
Then he gets into this bullshit about what's the temperature relative to absolute 0 and physics and, take it from me. I know about physics.
It's relative to absolute 0. For small changes result in huge effects. So New York City under ice would be -5 degrees. New York City underwater would be +5 degrees. But looked at as a percentage relative to absolute 0, it's only a ±2% change. So the sensitivity of climate is extremely high. We've amplified this sensitivity by building our cities right on the coastline. And most people live very close to the ocean. There are some countries, of course, that are very low-lying and would be completely underwater in a climate crisis. We've essentially designed civilization to be super sensitive. The important thing to appreciate is that we are going to exit the fossil fuels era. So it is inevitable that we will exit the fossil fuels era because at a certain point we will simply run out of carbon to mine and burn. So the question is really, when do we exit the era, not if? The goal is to exit the era as quickly as possible. That means we need to move from the old goal with the pre-industrial goal, which was to move from chopping down forests and killing lots of.
I like the tape. Lance on Colin says Elon is a human turd, and some other people have expressed the same sentiment, and so I'm glad we're all on the same page. Jazz Farm, one way to make a sizable dump in carbon is to shut down the military, worst polluter on the planet. Which they'll never do. They'll never do it. Why? Because the military, all that power. Who's got all the power? People that run the military. Who's never gonna defund the military? The people that have the military. Hail to the nulls. No, never gonna happen. I mean,
whales. The old goal was
saying let's stop killing whales. Let's
to move from chopping wood and killing whales to fossil fuels, which actually, in that context, was a good thing. But the new goal is to move to a sustainable energy future. And we want to use things like hydro, solar, wind, geothermal, nuclear is also.
Wrong. And this is where he gets into, let's just, let's keep industrial civilization going. And we need more kids. I think he gets into that here, too. He's saying, like, humans are very, is it Elon that, did he say this here or somebody? Now I'm forgetting where I heard this. Somebody was saying, I can't remember who, that we need, we need more kids and more people to do the work of fixing the climate change. And kind of using the example of less developed countries generally having bigger populations but less of a carbon footprint. Okay, that's true. It's true, but the lesson there is not that the lesson there is not that more people doesn't equal more carbon. It's actually what's the poverty level there? What's the standard of living there? That's the equation that people, what's the consumption, the level of consumption there? That's the part of the equation that he doesn't want to talk about and nobody's going to talk about, right? If you say it's totally fine to have 8 billion people if they all live like subsistence farmers in India and, live on a couple of dollars a day. Yeah, probably could be pulled off. But nobody wants to talk about that. And once you start talking about people having a standard of living that's comparable or Western economies, ain't going to happen. All that consumption ain't going to happen. That's where you get the deforesting and the killing the whales and taking all the fish out of the ocean. That's where you get all of that. Is 8 billion people wanting to live like everyone in Los Angeles. That's where you get all of that. That's not going to work. There's a physics equation in there that he's leaving out, and a lot of other people leave out. Anyways, that's about all the time I'm going to spend on that one. It was frustrating. We're going to talk about the fires in Chile too in a second. Um, yeah. Meanwhile, he's wants to hook everybody's brain up to the internet. So maybe he's not the person we want to listen to around climate change. Jazz Farm says homesteading during the Great Descent. Well, why that's indecent. Get it? No. I see that people are not friendly. You're not friendly to Elon Musk. What's the matter with Elon? Come on. Exactly. I mean, the absolute worst people are the ones being tasked with telling people about climate change. You're not. We're lost. We're done. When you have, billionaires and bazillionaires trying to tell you the way out of this, predicament that we're in. Wrong people altogether. Sorry to tell you. And this is where it gets, the people in charge get kind of stupid, right? They're stuck on stupid because they don't even understand how unbelievable they look. Because, Joe Biden thinks that nominating John Podesta to be the climate czar is somehow acceptable, is somehow not fraught with, with what? Nominating the worst of the worst kind of folks out there to deal with climate change is somehow it's lost on them how stupid this looks. And there's been evidence, in Davos and the World Economic Forum, there's evidence that they're starting to see, that they are not very popular. The things that they're trying to push are getting extreme amounts of pushback and are being met with disbelief. And, there's no intention of taking up these causes that they want everybody to get into or fight for, right? And these people are wolves in sheep's clothing, right? They're trying to tell you they care. They're trying to, give you all the great ways in which they're trying to help the planet and help people, and they want people to join in the fight, and and they on some level are understanding that nobody's buying what they're selling, but they still, are going forward with. I guess the new game now is to kind of tell, get people out there that are telling people the truth, right? But they're still in the end going to, I forget what the term is, sheepdog people into getting into this anyways. That's not going very well either. Yeah, some things in the water follow the money. That's about as simple as it gets. If you're listening to a billionaire or a bazillionaire or a corporate stooge about how it is the world needs, in what direction does the world need to go in the future? Does humanity need to go there? They've got some kind of agenda. Of course they do. Of course they're not doing it for altruistic reasons. No way, no how. And meanwhile, the planet, gets worse. Meanwhile, the climate falls apart a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Every year is worse than the year before. Every year is hotter than the year before. Last year, quite a bit hotter than the year before. This year, who knows how much hotter it's going to be than the year before. In the meantime, this is what's happening. Devastating scenes from Chile this morning. Thanks, Poppy, for sending this along. Fires continue to burn with more evacuations ordered. Death toll so far is 19, with 28 injured. It's actually up to like 60 or more, the death toll. I mean, this is wild. I assume people are trying to get out of here. These cars are. I mean, this looks like the aftermath of a dystopian movie scene. Cars trying to escape and getting, kind of, not unlike Maui, where cars were lined up trying to escape an oncoming blaze and not making it. But massive, massive fires going on. Yeah, and look at that. You have, and then people are so in disbelief of the fact that the climate is spinning out of control. That everything is to blame except for climate change, of course, right? It's HAARP, it's space lasers, it's whatever, And hey, I have a really open mind about any of that stuff. But when people have spent 30 or 40 years telling you what the effects of climate change are going to look like, and then it gets warmer on the planet in those 30 or 40 or 50 years or whatever, it gets warmer, measurably, visibly. You can tell by all your senses that it's getting warmer. And then you start to see the effects that were, predicted by this warming of the planet, and the effects look exactly like the things that were predicted by this is what happens when the planet warms. Well, then, golly gee willikers, Occam's razor says it's probably because of global warming. That's probably the reason. Sure, there could be other things. Of course, there's absolutely geoengineering. We already know. There's always so many countries already admitting to the fact that they're doing all kinds of things to manipulate the weather in their favor. Of course, these things are happening. But there's just some good old planetary destruction going on, right? Just good old, when you pollute your environment, what happens is the environment stops working in the way that it was intended to work. It just doesn't work anymore. Things don't work the same way they used to anymore. Things are falling apart. Ozone layers get shredded. UV goes up. What are the knock-on effects of that? Well, probably more chaos and destruction of the climate. Ice melts. More moisture in the air. Droughts happen. And what are the knock-on effects of that? Well, more shredding of the ability for the biosphere to carry, the carry capacity of the biosphere. Let's see. Well, we'll look at this from the BBC. Well, no, we're not going to look at this. Sorry. Not that one. Yeah, now the death toll is up to over 100 in Chile. Forest fire kills 112 in Chile's worst disaster since 2010 earthquake. Firefighters in central Chile on Sunday battled to quell fierce forest fires that have killed 112 people so far and razed entire neighborhoods, while President Gabriel Boric warned the country faces a tragedy of very great magnitude. Hundreds of people are still missing, authorities say, stoking fears the death toll will keep climbing as more bodies are found on hillsides and houses devastated by the wildfires. To go back to what I was saying just real briefly, could interested parties be willing to manipulate certain extreme weather events in their favor? Oh, absolutely. Or even set up the conditions for an extreme a weather disaster or a fire disaster or something to happen in order to forward some long sought after goals. Absolutely. And what it's kind of like putting a cloud in the sky, right? Where there are already clouds and people aren't really like paying attention to what's going on. It's really hard for some people to dissect what's a regular cloud and what's not, right? It's perfect cover for stuff like that. So I'm not saying that there aren't situations where extreme, disasters, weather events, or calamities are, steered in a particular way in order to bring about an outcome. I mean, of course, that seems completely logical to me. But there also is widespread environmental degradation going on every day, hand over fist. And you can see, that happening, in so many different ways, right? All the time, all over the place, if you are paying attention. Anyways, the fires that gathered momentum on Friday now menaced the outer edges of Viña del Mar and Valparaiso, two coastal cities popular with tourists. The urban sprawl of those cities accounts for more than 1 million residents west of the capital, Santiago. Drone footage filmed by Reuters in Viña del Mar area showed whole neighborhoods scorched while residents rummaging through husks of burnt-out houses where corrugated iron roofs have collapsed on the streets. Singed cars littered the roads. The wind was terrible, the heat scorching. There was no respite. People dispersed everywhere, said Pedro Quezada, a local builder in the Valparaiso region, standing amid charred debris of his destroyed home. Chilean authorities have introduced a 9 p.m. curfew in the hardest hit areas and sent in the military to help firefighters stem the spread of the fires while helicopters dumped water to try to douse flames from the air. Although wildfires are not uncommon during the southern hemisphere summer, the lethality of these blazes stands out, making them the country's worst national disaster since the 2010 earthquake, in which about 500 people died. Last year, on the back of a record heat wave, some 27 people died. More than 400,000 hectares of land were affected. So ongoing heat and drought. Yeah, it was also interestingly on a side note, listening to another person that people now are looking at with a skeptical raised eyebrow. Brett Weinstein was interviewed by Tucker Carlson about the kind of a bigger overview of the immigration thing going on, how people are traveling through Central America up to the border. But in that interview, interestingly, I just wanted to, it was an interesting interview. I guess there were a lot of different things covered. But what he did talk briefly about the drought going on in Panama and the effects it's having on shipping through the Panama Canal, and the fact that there are several reasons why this drought is happening. But of course, he he didn't deny or skirt the issue that there is a drought, that there's, it's hotter, that most of the shipping problems in the Panama Canal are, well, some by design, but also because of it's an environmental problem as well. So I appreciated that he covered it from a scientific perspective, and included that in his recounting of what's going on in Panama. Oh my gosh, Nasba Namanabs, long time no see. But yeah, the fires are look quite just, I mean, absolutely. Here, we'll look at a little video from this too. So yeah, we're just looking at some drone footage of these fires, which look just absolutely devastating, out of control. All right, let's got just a couple minutes left in the show, and now the rain is picking up again. Let's look at some not very happy economic news. While the people in charge the Grammys did happen. Yeah, the Grammys went on. The Grammys did go on. Actually, I had several friends in the nominated and there, and so it was kind of I was paying attention to the Grammys because some people I knew were up for Grammys, and I wanted to know how they're doing. Nobody won, unfortunately, which sucks. Nobody that I knew won. But that doesn't necessarily, that doesn't speak to proficiency of craft or, authenticity or talent or anything, right? Winning a Grammy. I mean, it's an award. It's something to go like, I did it, but if you don't win, it doesn't mean like you're not an incredible artist or incredibly popular. So it doesn't have anything to do with that. Several companies announced January 2024 layoffs. Why are these employees getting laid off? Well, let's find out. There's a lot of layoffs going on. There have been all through last year, and they're going to continue this year. Oh, golly gee, I wonder what's going on. Could it be a recession? Unless there is a massive stock market downturn and something that is going to just be really difficult for the powers that be to hide, they will spend the entire year telling you that the economy is better than ever. I mean, I just keep, every time there's a job report announcement, or they keep on saying, or a inflation report or whatever. The reports are always like, oh, well, it's better than expected. Wow, things are really looking great, right? They're going to spend the entire year, especially because it's an election year, trying to just tell you how good the economy is doing, while everybody is going, this is crap. Everybody's bleeding out. Like everybody economically is just completely lost and, effed. A lot of people are having a very difficult time. And we are talk about this all the time. So anyways, and now more people are going to have difficult times because they're going to be laid off. Various levels and amounts of company layoffs are starting to commence across the U.S. due to reasons including lower revenues and organizational rearrangements. Numerous amounts of companies and industries such as technology, finance, shipping, and travel are making significant changes to their respective staff. According to a survey shared by Business Insider, 38% of business leaders believe their own company will deal with layoffs this year. Geez, 38%. And half of them say their companies will have hiring freezes. UPS laid off 12,000 this week, reporting a decrease in shipping volume in both domestic and international markets from the previous year. They actually had a $9 billion decline in revenue. That's a lot of revenue. That kind of speaks to the fact that the economy is not doing really well, right? And you lost $9 billion in revenue. In shipping went down by $9 billion just for one company. That's something's going on there. 2023 was a unique and quite candidly difficult and disappointing year, said CEO Carol Tomé per CNBC. We experienced declines in volume, revenue, and operating profits in all three of our business segments. Down, down, down. Hughes also shared to USA Today that the layoffs will occur around the world over the next several months, with 75% of them commencing in the first half of the year, although it wasn't revealed which positions would be affected. American Airlines, the U.S.-based transportation company, announced this week the layoff of 656 customer support employees. Great. I can tell you firsthand that customer support already right now is not anything. So if you're going to lay off what you got, expect it to get worse. And I'm hearing that people are experiencing flying is not a great experience for a lot of people these days because of the delays, because of the troubles, because of faulty aircraft, because of everything from bad service to bad weather, all kinds of things. According to Fox Business, 335 employees in Phoenix and an additional 321 in Dallas-Fort Worth, who are part of the company's various customer service groups, are to be laid off to reorganize the overall customer service experience and simplify it down to one source. Prior to this change, customers with multiple issues had to contact multiple groups to handle each issue individually. As part of these updates, we are creating a new customer success team, customer success, that will be dedicated to providing more convenient, elevated support to American Airlines customers with some of their most complex travel needs. Well, all right. Sounds like it's going to get better. You laid off 700 customer support employees. Sounds like customer support's about to get better. That is always what that means, right? PayPal on Tuesday, the financial tech company announced a roughly 9% cut of its workforce. eBay also announced a 9% cut of its workforce. They're trying to lower operating costs, guys, because revenue down. Revenue is down. Yeah. So those things are happening. Nobody's talking about, cutting CEO bonuses or CEO pay packages, taxing, taking the money from management and giving it to employees. No, nobody's talking about that. If you are a low-level employee or redundant, as they might call you, you're out the door, pink slip in hand. You know what, guys? That about does it for me. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Here are the ways you can support this show if you like this show coming to you every single day for the free 99 on all the various platforms. You can support me here, buymeacoffee.com at Black Bear News or / Black Bear News, Cash App, $ Red Llama Music, Venmo at Kevin Sandblum, PayPal.me / Kevin Sandblum, or you can Zelle me at Kevin Sandblum at protonmail.com. I will be back tomorrow at the regular hour. Appreciate you. And obviously, you can always super chat or super ray, tip me on Rockfin or tip me on YouTube. You can join my Patreon. All these links are in the description box. And also, if you all want to chat outside of this show in a more kind of protected space, if you don't like Twitter, you can go to Telegram, t.me / Black Bear News chat. You can go there. And I think the link might be on Twitter. You can go there and join the chat there and talk to people there. Okay? All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Until next time, peace.